Hello, welcome to another briefing. I wanted to start out today by showing a satellite image of the Central California area because I wanted to show the coverage of ocean-based stratus clouds, basically marine clouds. That are formed by the interaction of warm, moist air coming from the tropics with the very cold water off of the California coast. And you have this unique setup where the stratus tends to form each morning and push into Bay Area valleys and bayside locations, depending on how much weight the atmosphere on above is putting on it. And oftentimes when we have big systems of high pressure, as we've had lately, the marine layer becomes a lot more compressed. So it does not push as far inland, and that cool ocean air does not consequently spread that far inland as well. But we have had this weekend, there has been a uh, temporary weakening of the high pressure ridge that was over us. It's unfortunately going to be coming back soon, but it did allow this marine layer to deepen a little bit more. And you can see this morning, so this is starting out about 6 a.m., going all the way to 12 p.m. now. I'm just going to show you here going to 12. And you can see it's been persistent. The clouds have been very persistent inside the San Francisco Bay. Much of San Francisco is still socked in clouds in this hour, whereas across the Golden Gate Bridge in the North Bay, we have a lot more sunny conditions with that slight northwesterly flow that's directing the clouds towards the SF area, and the coastal hills along the Marin are keeping inland Marin areas clear. So it's just interesting to notice that because this can change, where the wind is coming from can have a big effect on where the stratus clouds are stacked up against. And this is the presence of these clouds, at least even to start the day in many areas, is what keeps temperatures during the afternoon from getting extremely hot. So this is also a big help when it comes to relieving temperatures. I wanted to show you now the pattern at 18,000 feet. This is a model projection from the GFS. And basically, this is showing you what's going on. I'm going to put this into motion until 5 p.m. today. And you can see this is basically showing the thickness values for the atmosphere at 18,000 feet, which is basically how high the pressure is, how much air is pressing down on the surface. If you take a snapshot of the atmosphere at 18,000 feet, these darker reddish colors represent higher pressure and big high pressure domes and ridges, which are usually associated with heat waves. And the orange to green colors usually represent troughs of low pressure, which are usually associated with colder air coming out of the polar regions. For most of the month of July, we've had a very persistent ridge over the west coast with a high pressure dome that's been mostly stationary. It's shifted back and forth, and that's what allows for more marine influence and cooling along the coast, or less of it. When the high pressure nudges back to the west, the marine layer, that layer of cold air along the coast I was talking about earlier, gets a lot more compressed and does not push very far inland. So only immediate coastal locations get the benefit of the marine influence. But when it pushes a little further out and troughing is nearby, that marine layer is able to deepen and push in a little further. Anyways, unfortunately, this cool down that we just had in the Bay Area was just temporary, because as I put this into motion, you'll notice the high pressure starts to build back over California. This isn't going into Tuesday night now. Monday and Tuesday it does nudge back in. As you can see, we have a trough over the Pacific Northwest, which is going to be bringing some nice relief, some much needed relief from the heat for them. If I'm not mistaken, I was looking at the temperature projections earlier today, and I saw values only in the 60s for the Seattle area, which I do not think has happened there in about a month. They've been consistently in the, I believe they've been mostly in the 80s from what I've seen this month, and maybe a few days in the 70s, but it's been a lot of 80s and not even some 90s up there, which is very hot for people that don't have air conditioning. So definitely a big relief coming for them with this trough of low pressure bringing this pocket of colder air down. But you can see, unfortunately, the ridge will be nudging westward, so we will have some heating in California again. However, as we put this into motion towards the end of the week, notice the ridge starts to break down again. We have a little shortwave trough kind of branching off from this trough here in the Pacific Northwest, and we have cooling. This is going to deepen the marine layer, allow the ocean air to come further inland. So that is something to look forward to. We will have cooling. Look at this going into Friday, Saturday, Sunday of next week. This is going to feel really good to have this big trough here, bringing much needed relief, cooler air aloft, and cooler ocean air pushing in as well. That'll be a much needed relief. I'm going to show you now a map of the moisture at 18,000 feet, because another thing I wanted to talk about today, I'm going to show you the temperatures, and I'm going to talk about the risk of afternoon thunderstorms as well. If you're in the Sierra Nevadas, if you're in the Cascades, if you're in parts of the Sawtooth Mountains, the Tetons, the Rockies, do beware. Afternoon thunderstorms are possible because we have a lot of moisture. I wanted to show you this tongue of moisture here that we have, that's coming up from like the Gulf of California, essentially, all the way up into Oregon and Washington today, which is not something that happens often. And we have enough lift from this trough to the west here with the moisture, and the air going up the mountains, and we have enough instability, we have enough cold air aloft here that there is the risk of thunderstorms, particularly for mountain areas. So please keep your eye on the sky and take shelter if you're out in the mountains and you notice thunderstorms coming. I'm just going to put this into motion here. As you can see, it will dry out in the mountains for the Pacific Northwest as we go into Tuesday, but still that active risk of thunderstorms in the Sierras and the Rockies particularly. And then you can notice the moisture from this colder system coming into the Pacific Northwest as the moisture kind of spins around the high pressure down here. I wanted to show you now temperature projections for the Bay Area. This is starting with Monday, July 22nd, which is tomorrow. As I mentioned, there will be enough of an onshore wind that will keep the immediate coastal locations much cooler, thanks to this colder water that acts as a refrigerant, and the winds move over it. Look at these differences here. you have 63 in Half Moon Bay, and then drive maybe 40, I don't know, like 30 minutes to San Jose, you have 90 degrees. 40 minutes to Nevada, you have 94. It's just a short amount of distance over the coastal hills. You have very warm to hot conditions in the locations approaching 100 degrees. A lot of the Bayside in the 80s and 90s and 70s, all the way to some coastal locations, Monterey, all the 70 degrees. 70s in some of the Point Reyes region as well. Of course, the peninsula that is exposed to the water will likely stay in the 60s, as will Half Moon Bay. But you can see quite a spread here in temperatures. The coastal area is staying nice and comfortable thanks to that onshore influence. But pretty compressed marine layer, as I mentioned earlier. You can see the temperatures inland still very hot. Put this into motion now. Here's Tuesday, still pretty hot. Wednesday, some minor relief, but still very hot inland. And then Thursday and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday is the peak of the cooling. Will feel really nice down to the only 80s, only about 80 degrees for the warmest inland spots, with widespread 60s and 70s elsewhere here in the Bay Area. Sacramento down to about 90, which is actually below average. Still hot, but it's below average for them, so that'll feel very nice as well. Just want to show you the West Coast in general. We've got 100s for the Central Valley of California, 100 teens in the desert. For Monday, we have 90s and 100s across much of Nevada. A lot of the Boise area will be in the hundreds as well. Twin Falls about 100. Denver only about 80. There's some cooler air coming down here on the eastern part of Colorado. You have 96 in Grand Junction. Seattle, a comfortable 76. Portland, 79. That cooler air starting to make its influence. I'm just going to show you Tuesday. Continued cooling across the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures still pretty warm to hot in the Central Valley and in the California deserts. And then we go into Wednesday. Some more cooling. Slight cooling begins for parts of California. And then Thursday, you really see a cool down for a lot of western states as that high pressure kind of eases and pushes east a little bit. Friday and Saturday, much of the Pacific Northwest, Idaho, Nevada, and much of California will be much more comfortable, down from the hundreds to about 90 in much of the Central Valley, down from the 110s to just 100s, just about a little over 100 for the deserts, which is pretty average for this time of year. So much more seasonable, comfortable conditions on the way. Now, just before I wrap up this video, I wanted to show you the projection from the high resolution rapid refresh computer model showing the showing rain, what the Doppler radar, which indicates rain, might look like as we go through the next 48 hours. This is basically where we expect rain, and the most and much of the rain over the next 2 days. Like it's really hard to pinpoint exactly where the showers will. This isn't representative of exactly where it will rain, but it gives a good idea of where the rain showers are likely to pop up. So as I put this into motion for this afternoon, you can see the Sierras, a lot of activity in the foothills of Arizona, a lot of activity in Colorado as that moisture is wrapping around, as I showed earlier in the video. And you can see even some activity here in the Pacific Northwest is possible. As we go into Monday afternoon, you see the bulk of that activity as the moisture shifts east. The bulk of that activity will shift east. We have mostly New Mexico now in the action, Arizona, Nevada, parts of Idaho, parts of the Tetons in Wyoming. You have actually much drier conditions across Colorado. As you can see here is that center of the high pressure with the sinking air nudges closer to Colorado. Eastern, if you look at western Colorado, you have a lot less coverage as you did the day before. So look at the day before here, you have a lot less coverage over Colorado. So always interesting to notice that. But we're over 15 minutes, so I wanted to thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you were able to get something out of it. Thank you for watching. I know this was a longer one, and I'll see you next time.